All right, we are live here. I'm very excited about today's interview with Baron von Merkva. He's a freelance video producer located in Southern California, which is a good place to be in the movies, right? He credits his interest in science fiction for his big picture view of society. He's a very fascinated with different things relating to science fiction, Star Wars kind of stuff, because that's the direction we're headed. And he uses that love for his big picture view of the world and view of politics. So today we're going to talk about politics, general sense of how the the Trump transition is unfolding, and explore some concern and some possibilities. And then under the science fiction, we're going to talk about, this is interesting. I want to read this right, make sure I don't miss it. How AI has in some instances surpassed that image of Star Trek I was talking to you about, and explore the prediction about virtual friends becoming common. That whole the world is changing. With that, oh, by the way, a couple housekeeping things. As you know, we're bringing on and expanding this channel into industrial and manufacturing, doing interviews on processes, environment, economics, and we're going to be also interviewing several industry leaders. I think Steve Petrakis is one we're going to be re-interviewing here again soon. So with that, let me bring on Baron. Baron, how are you?
Good, very good. Nice to be on.
Excellent. So were you able to hear the introduction there or no?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good. So where do you want to start? Let's start with the political side and then go into some of the AI stuff. Does that work for you?
Sure. Yeah. You're
right.
Running the show.
I'm running to the show. That was me. Let's start with this transition, because there's a lot in the news, and a lot of feelings and thoughts about this. So let's ask you. So give some background on your political leanings, and then go into this discussion. How's that, Baron?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, as we've talked about before, I consider myself a liberal progressive. I think
nasty word these days.
Yeah,
that's a nasty word.
Yeah, I know. It's
go ahead. But it's your interpretation of that isn't as extreme as what some of the far left is, because that's progressive, but that's beyond progressive, right?
I mean, in that sense, I kind of consider you a conservative progressive. You see what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we're both independents, right?
Yes. So I say progressive in the sense that we're more willing to look at things that might seem a little out of the box or too impractical or things like that. Because we've talked about some big picture things like, publicly funded elections, things. I mean, that's very progressive, right? It could.
I haven't heard. Let me jump in every once in a while with you to expand on a point. I haven't heard. I think the first time I've heard talk about a publicly funded election was from you. Is that a reality potential or no?
In the sense that I think I have the sense that most people would be very much behind it, no matter what side of the political fence you're on, right?
I would think, yeah.
There's a lot of interests that would not want that to happen. Chief among them, all the consultants, the ad people, But if you set it up so, like we talked about, where it was an even playing field, everybody, all the networks would have to agree to this, a certain amount of time that anybody running could utilize. And
That's a big deal these days.
I think that would be a way to make sure people are very 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 informed. There's not all the money swirling around and the interest and whatnot. If that was removed, I just think you would get a much better quality candidate. Because they would clearly not have wealth and power in that sense, as one of the things they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that seems to be far too often the primary purpose. So yeah, I like this concept. I mean, is it something you heard before other people talking about? I feel way back behind you on this one. Is that an ongoing discussion, or is that something you want to do?
Oh,
I mean, no, I know you want to do it, but
yeah. I mean, I heard about this, many years ago, and then
that's what I thought.
You'll remember for a while there was all this talk about reforming the election system. So they're all money, and then Citizens United happened, and that opened the floodgates. And you saw it was over $1 billion spent on this last election. It's just like
just Kamala Harris spent $1 billion.
Oh, they spent about $1 billion each, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think Trump was a lot less because he does that social media stuff but he does a lot of commercials, so he probably did spend a good amount of money. I have no idea, but I was shocked that Kamala's that the Kamala Harris ticket spent over $1 billion and are still underwater by $200 million, and they're trying to get people to pay for it. Did you hear about that?
Not that specifically. Yeah, I heard that they were. Yeah, they didn't wind up having enough. Cash on hand to satisfy all the debts.
Yeah, 200 million worth. All right, so let's get off that. What do you think? There's a lot being talked about now with Trump and his cabinet picks and the transition going on. What do you think? How do you think that's going? And expand on those thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's, overall, I have concerns about certain things going too far. And,
I do too.
And then on the other hand, you have a concern that they don't go far enough to make a difference. So, kind of caught in that. I do think some of the cabinet picks are some of them could spur some really good things, but I do have concerns about some others. About
like who?
Like Tulsi Gabbard, as for national intelligence. I mean, just
why are you concerned about her?
Forget the stuff she said in meeting with Assad and all that. Forget all of that. She just simply doesn't have that kind of experience, because that's a pretty vast, and you don't want to have this recycling people in the system, and just regurgitating everybody doing the same thing. But I think Tulsi Gabbard is just not I don't think it's not a good fit, because she just doesn't have that kind of experience. I think it's better in an advisory role.
So you're saying that that it's not about like you said, forget about all that. She's a Russian asset, that the View used to call her, and all those things. It's strictly about experience.
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with some of the things that she said about, Putin and Russia and didn't seem to be taking Ukraine's side, which I very much do. So I had I had a problem with that, but people can have their own opinions about how to do things. But
Sure.
the director of national intelligence is just you got to have something. I'm not sure about her managerial experience. I mean, maybe she's just this like killer manager, and if that's the case, then she could ramp up and get to know how to how to maneuver things. But
Absolutely.
that concerns me, because it just the nature of the job, national intelligence, that's got worldwide implications.
Oh, big time. Do you don't think that any of the UN, when she was ambassador to the UN, and some of the other things that she is, I mean, she's been in the military since she was, 9/11. I mean, she joined it because of 9/11, and really busted up through the ranks within the military. That probably isn't. That's a groundwork, but I'm curious to find out how she handles it if she gets confirmed.
Yeah, and if she does get confirmed, then yeah, we'll find out pretty quickly. There's a lot of stuff.
Well, hopefully we don't find out pretty quickly. Hopefully it's like, okay, she's doing okay. She's not, oh my God, what is she doing?
Which again can happen with anybody, right? No matter who it is.
Yep.
And people can't control events around the world. So oh man, that's brutal job. That Secretary of State, that's a brutal job. Whew.
Yeah, I'm actually excited about several of these picks, unknowing about some of them, but I am excited about the people that, in comparison to what's there now, I think we'll see a big difference, because I do lean a little bit more right than you do, and we listen to different news stations and so forth. So things come up. Hold on, let me see what. Can you see that, Baron?
Yeah.
All right. So Baron's take on politics and science fiction is so unique. It got me thinking every time.
Man, that's about the best compliment I could ever get, right? Because
absolutely.
I'm telling you, that's one of the things I so admire about you is you're curious. You're actually curious about things. You want to think about things. It's this constant is just hard to think.
Yeah, it is really hard to think, and that's what got me. Well, I think growing up, moving all over the country and technically the world. I was born to a military, a Marine. My dad and my mom was a business owner. So there's a lot of things that I've been exposed to that made me curious. And like you say you're a political guru or junkie. Yeah. But I'm curious to see what these guys are capable of, and be curious about it. And that's why I want to talk about these things so much, because the media has been so, the media isn't news anymore. It's the extension of one party's arm or the other party's arm, right? I mean, that's the reality of things. And once I started seeing that, because as I told you, I listened to I-24, the Jerusalem, the Jewish station that's here. I listen to the BBC for the world stuff, and I listen to several conservative ones and several liberal shows, and just to compare back and forth of how that story is going, and as far as what truths may or may not be in the story. So yeah, I do have that really created another level of, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right, or this doesn't seem right, or that doesn't seem right. Then I became extremely curious, right, Baron?
Yeah. I mean, my experience with the media is much different than yours, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I come to the same conclusion. Like you need to just think through everything you consume and don't automatically assume that it's wrong or incorrect. Just I don't know,
No,
like you
no,
talked
you're
about. Yeah,
absolutely
you gotta be able to think for yourself,
yeah.
and if you lean one way, that's fine. You can get information for a more conservative leaning bent or a liberal leaning bent. But to me, it's not the media's fault. It's our fault. It's our fault for not becoming better educated and not assuming if it's the show you always watched for the last 20 years of your life, you're always going to believe what they say and you're never going to believe what that whole again polarized thing where just nothing moves. There's no
Yeah.
movement possible
You've
because we
got one
can't.
set of facts coming
Yeah.
out here and one set of facts coming out here, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another very
Because they
disturbing thing
differ
that's come out.
dramatically.
There are facts are facts. It's what that therefore means that I think really is where the problem, gets into. But
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
facts are still facts. I mean,
Yeah, no doubt. But what do you mean by that? The means is where we get in
well,
trouble.
what people make the
Wow,
facts.
Baron, you're attracting a lot of people. We're getting close to 1,000 viewers right now. Go ahead. So your facts are what?
And we haven't even gotten to the science fiction yet.
Science fiction part's going to be fun. The AI and Jetsons are coming, right?
Yeah, or yeah, in some cases already here. But
Yeah, that's
no,
true.
yeah, just to get clear about that, the media is going to say what it's going to say. The right will say this, the left will say that, right? It's up to us to what does that, again, what does that therefore mean? It doesn't mean the other side is, evil and wants bad on everybody, So again, I think it's up to us to consume the media with a very skeptical, from 30,000 feet, just like observe it. Don't get pulled into the little drama and don't get triggered by all the stuff. Just listen, like you always propose, right? Listen,
Yeah.
listen, be curious.
Yeah.
Why do half the people in the country want this and half the people in the country want that?
Because they're following the advice of the media, right? I mean, that's what it boils down to. When you say don't get caught up and triggered and take the 30,000 foot view, I would add to that the 30,000 foot view across the media itself. Podcasts like this and many others, and then the TV going on. Do you think sci-fi is the best way to explore political ideas? We'll get to that. Just hold on, Kate. Yeah, I know you're ready, and the answer is somewhat yes, because like we said a little bit ago, we're coming into the Jetsons. So picking it up from there, Baron, what inspired? Oh, here, you answer this one, Baron.
I mean, I didn't set out to combine them necessarily. It's just that reading science fiction and hearing about a lot of the science fiction, what I consider the really good science fiction. I don't consider Star Wars as good science fiction. I don't.
Right.
What
would be
great science adventure? It's great science fantasy, but it's not good science fiction. Good science fiction really gets you to think and imagine. And some of them get pretty political, but they have very fleshed out, societal rules and different things like that. So they kind of naturally combine in a way, because science fiction looks at, what if anything in the future, right? What if,
Hmm.
what is a personal life like? What are societies like? What are the politics like? What is the technology like? What's the transport, on and on and on.
That's what's interesting to me, the point you're making right now, because um, I use a comparison. Uh, if you look at anything we've conceived and believed, we've achieved. The TV, in my opinion, is looking forward to where we're going, and then once we start believing the different concepts of TV, then our confidence and our support fills in and gets behind it, and then from there uh, you start to see things come out. The rockets and all the things we're talking about. The vision of time, robots, the AI stuff that's coming on. AI is going to be as big. It's going to be way bigger than the impact that the web had, and the mobile phones that made a great impact on society. That I think we can't even conceive what the AI is going to end up being, except for science fiction movies. That's I think where everybody is going to start seeing the importance of the decisions they're making, because you and I have talked about this before. The need to get involved and be part of it, talk to other people. It's something I say that I learned a long time ago. You have two ears and one mouth. If you say something to somebody, you are strictly giving them knowledge that you already have. But if you listen to somebody, you have the very good chance of learning something. And to me, that seems much more important than the other way around.
Yeah. I like this saying that I heard many years ago about communication requires both. If you don't have a listener, a speaker, and a listener, it's like,
Sure.
it's kind of chicken or the egg. They go together. If you don't have one, you don't have communication. You have
And
you have this, but you don't
yep.
have communication.
And that's kind of where we are now. I mean, especially as the COVID exploded this concept. But
Yeah.
we, you know we, I always say hi to somebody, wave at somebody, create the vibe, control the vibe, increase the vibe. And that all sounds like 70s, love stuff. But what's really important is you have that communication, and 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 if we don't, if we continue in the same, I think it's getting better, but if we continue in the same path, as far as a society, when the utopia, and it's coming. I mean, look at all the stuff that it's pointing to. If we can take trillions of dollars out of the budget, that comes back to the people. There should never be an American, and by extension, anybody in the world should ever, in a free nation, not be um, below a poverty level. They should never want for anything, right?
I could not agree more. Yeah, with all the wealth in the world, yeah, it's really, I mean, it's understandable why things happen this way, but yeah, it's kind of inexcusable that yeah, any child anywhere, but particularly in this country, the wealthiest country on the planet, that is, we don't have everything taken care of. Now, how you get there, who pays for it, yada yada yada. That's that's something that obviously needs to be worked out. But the fact that that happens in the wealthiest country, yeah, it's just it's sad mostly. But
It is.
there's a way to do it because the resources are obviously there.
Yeah, the resources are here. I mean, and the great middle class is what built these resources. Yes, we had leaders, we have innovators, we have the engine, or maybe the head of of this building of this great nation we have. But the great middle class is what's put all the backbone and the energy and the effort into it. And a lot of people come out of the middle class into great success, and that's great. But we really need to take the narrative as the middle class to a whole, because I mean, you and I are different, but at the end of the day, we want the same thing. Your neighbors, same thing. We have different backgrounds and different, at the end of the day, desires, but at the same thing. At the end of the day, the family that's has a little bit different view of how to get there, or a different culture and so forth. At the end of the day, when your family needs something, everybody has the same want and desire. The cost of living, the freedoms that we enjoy, and that's all common between all of us, right? And if it isn't, whoever isn't common with those beliefs probably shouldn't be here. What do you think?
Let's deport them off the planet.
Yeah, no, just past our borders. That's it. I mean, we don't want to. We're not ready to send them to Mars yet, right?
Not yet, but Elon's working on it.
He is, man. He is. It's incredible. I was talking to somebody yesterday, a business associate of mine. They sell cooling systems. It's actually pretty cool, to SpaceX, and they actually have their equipment on the launch pad, and 2 more are going out now. So he's even expanding that. Where he is now, obviously he's expanding it, of course, but he's already building infrastructure to take that next level.
Yeah. That whole part of the to me, it's like it's an entirely reborn space program.
Yeah, NASA's not really going to be building rockets, I don't think, in the future. I mean, they'll probably continue to deal with the science, and then keep that intellect there, and then pilots. What do you think? Seems like that. In other words, I think SpaceX is going to be building most of the rockets moving forward during this period of time, whatever that is. NASA isn't shooting as many rockets to space as they did before, and I hear them using language that kind of says, "Hey, we got a couple of they're sending the space program more and more and more out to the public, right? Private companies building these things, right?"
Yeah. That and that was that was envisioned by science fiction writers probably as far back as the 40s, the 1940s. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
And yeah, that this is a really good realization of that happening. So that the I think NASA, I believe, they're almost focused on research and not so much
there you go
these kind of manned missions. Although I think they're helping out with, they ultimately want to establish a base on the moon, because then if they figure out, and with these 3D printers and all the
Oh,
stuff they're
true.
figuring out.
Yeah.
You know, the idea is to launch a rocket from the moon because it doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be gigantic. It can be gigantic, but it doesn't need so much fuel to, you know, counteract gravity. I mean, you know,
Right.
dramatically cheaper if you can figure out how to 3D print a rocket while you're on a base on the moon.
Well, I think obviously we're going to be sending rockets again back to the moon,
Yeah.
and then building a base and so forth. But yeah, if we can even if we have people that are stationed on the moon that then take off for, like you said, take off for that next for Mars or whatever that's going to be, then it's a lot less expensive. You don't waste so much energy trying to get out of our atmosphere.
Yeah, and there's even, I think some people are seriously considering it, maybe Elon included, is the idea that you launch the rocket like you normally do, but then you orbit the moon after there's a base on the moon, and then it gets refueled from the moon. And
Oh,
then
wow.
from that point, you know, that way they can go a lot faster because they can use more fuel, you know, things like that.
That's next level, man.
Yeah. Well, man. Yeah. It is happening in some ways faster than I ever, you know, was hoping it would be, but and in some ways much slower because after the shuttle program was, you know, stopped completely,
Yeah.
and we
Right.
were, you know, we had to rely on the Russians to, you know, get our astronauts to and from the space station.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just seemed like we just didn't have it anymore. You know, our we were doing great research things, you know, checking out Jupiter and the moons of Saturn and, you know, some pretty,
Reading all the atmospheres and reading all the chemicals from far away.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, that makes
So
sense.
great advances in research, but no, you know, manned missions, no plans to put people back on the moon or, you know, even you know, just barely to the space station and back, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
that seemed like it took a long time, but now that it's kicked in, it seems like it's happening pretty fast.
The linear curve is pretty sharp angle right now.
Like a rocket.
Like a rocket. Hey, that's a good way to put it.
Hey,
so
your next
so are
show.
you so your impression of Elon in the Doge world, um is are you agreeable to that? Do you now I'm going to say something here. One thing, first of all, I voted for Trump this time, and I'm very excited about what he's doing and the reception he's getting and the confidence he has, and I'm very excited about the people he's putting together within the cabinet and this Doge thing. That really gives me the next level of confidence that utopia is on its way, because utopia is we don't have to work if we don't want to. We never want for anything, and society is healthy and growing. You know, that's a ways away, but Doge, we can't ever get there unless the government quits taking all our money, right? I mean, taxes and unneeded costs and so forth. You know, these things are what I think hold us back. I'm really excited that that's coming, but as you and I started off the show, the importance about talking and communicating so that we get the narrative back, so that we start voting people in. Education, we are educated when we start voting people in, and then not afraid to vote somebody out the next cycle if they don't do the job right now. People get in and they just spend their whole lives in politics, and we just keep putting them back in office. Some of them we should. There's some good people out there, but a lot of them we shouldn't. And it's stupid that we do, and it's laziness that why we do it. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean that's a pretty broad set of concerns there, but just as an overall thing, yeah, our election system, um, I think it could be adjusted a little bit, nothing radical, so that more people would want to be engaged, right?
That's the key. That's the
So
key.
and this is far off, and maybe it's never going to happen, but again, in a system like publicly funded elections, there's no money, nobody pays, right? Like if you want to print flyers and send postcards to people's mailbox, knock yourself out. But on the airwaves and in mass communication, that is equally proportioned with all of the candidates. Think about the kind of people that would be willing, to run for office if they knew they didn't have to like raise, I don't know, anybody I could run for office.
Yeah, I have run for office.
You could
actually.
run for office, and you would do it based only on your ideas and your thoughts about how to solve problems for people. So I just think it would just make a dramatic change, and I think people would like really engage if that was what was presented to them. Was a very fair. Everybody's got equal time to make their case and follow-ups, et cetera, et cetera. You'd have to set it up. But I think it made.
How does social media fit into that picture there? Networks, each candidate, whoever's running, gets equal, fair, same amount of time, right, across the board. Does social media play into that at all?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you do the social media
I don't either.
End of things, because I think one of the things you would want to do is you would ban political advertisements on network television. The airways that we all own, you could not do, and you can still have free speech, but during an election, to keep things completely balanced, you would ban political ads on network television. I don't think you could stop it on social media, but
no, I don't think you could either. Especially now, it's going to be the new, at least for a while, many election cycles. It's going to social media is probably going to play a bigger hand than network TV is. And face to face, hand to hand discussions of this candidate or that's candidate. Sorry, somebody's calling in here, and we're going to put that over there. So, when it comes to the cabinet that Trump's putting together, pretty good. I mean, from an A to a D, what do you think? Just in the, not in each individual person, but we can compare this 2024 to 2016, right? How it rolled out as the government, how he planned and put his administration together. How do you think that compares to this time, or do you know? Take your liberal hat off. Take your liberal hat off. Put your center on. Put your independent on. How is he doing?
Yeah, for sure, much better than the first time around.
No doubt.
No doubt. Yeah, and again, for me, it's this mix. There's a real possibility that something could crack open a little bit. But I'm also concerned about it just going too far. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What I'm first of all, address the first thing. I'm excited about the people that are coming in because they're brilliant. Many of them are smarter than me for sure. But the thing that I'm really kind of interested in is this concept. The founding fathers created, right, this government, this system, and it was always intention to have people, farmers come to serve the country that has done so much. They come in, they serve, and then they go back to their farm or their doctor's office or their sales job, or the things that concept of different people from the citizenship going in to serve their country. And as I look at the things that Trump is doing, first of all, he's putting in Democrats, like in the Department of Labor, that pro-union lady. I don't know or remember the specifics, but and then he's putting in these different people from industry to come in and clean up where things are headed now. And the biggest thing that I'm excited about is that it's based on the original concept. And I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but I'm tired of seeing politicians be in every political position. Politicians should come in, like you said earlier, do their job, do the things that they think need to be fixed, and then next person comes in and does that after a couple. You guys might hear my dogs. They're going to be playing here, and they're big dogs. They get loud, so excuse me for that. That's kind of. I mean, do you agree with that? That my thought about it. I mean, not a big deal, but I'd like to hear your thought in bringing in people that aren't politicians and are still skilled enough to handle. Obviously, you don't want to somebody who's been a janitor all year. You don't want them to be Secretary of State or anything like that. But there's a way to look at this. And is Trump really taking this country back to its original founding roots and bringing people in from industry and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was part of his intentions.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, need to let people try the job off. If they get confirmed, then see what kind of a job that they do. I just again am concerned about some critical positions being with people that don't have any real world experience with that. That it just I'm just concerned about it. They may wind up doing a great job, but
I think we've had people
to that kind of thing happening.
And I think we've had people in past cabinets positions that didn't have direct experience at it, and they either grew into or didn't, grow into that position and were, X'd out or whatever. So it seems like the political picture right now is, I think it's still crazy still, and there's some weird stuff happening, like Biden selling off for pennies on the dollar the wall stuff, and there's a couple of weird things that are going on, and it concerns me still about a deep state, a dark state, that really went after Trump because he was going to fix the country, and instead of the country needing to be controlled by the government. I think there's still that little battle going on, and that's why I'm kind of excited about it. And I think at least a little over half the country really are excited by that. Yeah. But you bring up a great point. One thing I'm concerned about, because you got this dynamic, administration coming in, dynamic thinkers and all that. First of all, we need at least two parties, right? So the Democratic Party is in a lot of trouble right now. I think you will agree with that, and maybe not, but the the way and the things that they're doing are really being rejected, and that's actually this happening all across the world, right? More conservative, or what's the
Yeah,
word?
just the other guy.
Yeah, the other guys are really happening all over the
Incumbents
world.
out. Yeah, all the incumbents. Yeah, did poorly. Yeah,
Yeah, because I think people are kind of sick of this
yeah.
BS.
I mean, I don't see it quite that way. And
Sure.
some of the stuff about the deep state. I know there's power structures going on, but I don't probably don't see it quite as much of an issue as you do. But I mean, just think about it over decades and decades and decades. We're kind of a 50-50 country.
We are.
So
Yeah.
there's always going to be half the country that doesn't necessarily agree with what any president wants to do and what kind of philosophy they bring to the table. But that's why it's so critical that things like your podcast is getting out there to be an example that people with very different political viewpoints still can talk about the things that could work. So that's what it's going to take, because then if the people are the ones responsible for the government we get, then we're going to pay more attention. We're going to be more thoughtful. We're going to be more open. And then when people get into office, like you say, then we hold them accountable. If they're not doing a good job, they get bounced. If they're doing a good job, I say keep them in as long as they're doing a good job. I'm not a term limits kind of guy. I'm just not, because I think if somebody's genuinely doing a very good job and the people want that person to continue, I think they should be allowed to continue.
Yeah. The term, first of all, I can't imagine, at least in today's environment politically, that any of the people are going to vote for term limits. It's kind of silly to think that politicians who you want the term limits because of things that are going on are going to agree to term limits. Second of all, what we're talking about now, and bringing people in and letting them go or keeping them according to their skills or deficits, is term limits. But it goes back to what you said before. It's not the media's fault. It's our fault. We're lazy. We're fat, dumb, and happy kind of things.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, generally, what I mean, fat, dumb, and happy in politics, we go in and we pull the lever for straight down the Republican Party, or we pull the lever for straight down the Democratic Party, and a couple sprinkles outside of that. I think that we could, if really this podcast's vision, its message gets out, and people start educating themselves more and talking back and forth like you and I do, I think it could get very easily to a 75-25 country where most of the people believe that where we're going is in the right direction, that the people are doing their bidding for the right reasons, and so forth. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think that's true. There actually was a fair amount of split ticket voting this year, which was kind of interesting. But overall, I don't know if you wanted to get into the whole discussion about third parties and that kind of stuff. That's kind of a whole other.
We'll save that for another thing, because I want to start leaning into the
I like this question.
AI.
I like this question.
Go ahead. That's why I put it up there.
Which sci-fi universe best mirrors our political climate? Well,
That's a great question, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, there are some sci-fi books that kind of have the typical dystopian kind of future, and it's often after some cataclysm, a nuclear war, or a comet hits the Earth, or whatever, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
I mean, I think
Exactly.
relatively, I think there's certainly lots of potential dangers, but I think overall, politically, we're in a good place, even though there's a lot of friction. I think you heard this term that you can't really have a breakthrough until you have the breakdown, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
like the idea
you got to have the failures
you hit
first.
rock bottom, and then everybody goes, "All right, I'm done with this. This ain't working. We got to do something." Like if we had
Yeah,
the political will to do certain things, it makes a huge difference in whether that actually gets done.
no doubt. No doubt. I totally agree with you. Um, what as we're going more and more and more the science fiction and discussions, um, science fiction is only science fiction until we catch up to that, whatever that concept is, right? And then it's reality. When it comes to the AI, your discussions here, and how do you see the world in 5, 10, and 20 years from now? How do you see the world, and what are your thoughts on good, bad? Oh, by the way, before I want to get off the political subject, one fear I do have about this new administration is becoming too the one party becoming too powerful, like the Democrats have been for, they've led that, and they really put some things in deep and that were for their party, not for the people. I can see the same thing happening on the other side. But with that said, I I'm interested to your discussion on science fiction here. How has AI, in some instances, surpassed the Star Trek? And then I like this. It should probably be oh wait, hold on. Explore predictions about virtual friends becoming a commonality. That caught my eye. I mean, and it kind of makes sense because we're kind of already there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In some instances, I mean, I'm not sure this kind of thing will happen, but it seems like it definitely could. And I think the time frame is pretty tight. Like within 10 years, almost
There you go.
almost everybody, just like almost everybody, has a cell phone now. And 20 years ago, it wasn't to that point. And now obviously the internet and phones and mobile and all that stuff has gotten way more sophisticated, a lot more capable. But if that was when the AI gets to the point where you're kind of doing it now, like when you're working with AI, you're training the AI to give you what it thinks you're looking for. So you kind of trade it.
I do that now. I'm actually training an automation. Is that what you're talking about?
That's a low level form of
Very low level.
companion.
Absolutely.
But I think in the future, just like everybody will have their own little virtual buddy, right? You got a bad day, you come in and hey, whatever you call your AI. Hey AI,
Yeah, right.
having a bad day, man. I got in a fight with my boss. What do you think I should do? Should I, tell him to F off, or should I try to work it out?
That's interesting.
It will be a very, very personalized thing
To each person that has
everybody will be the one to teach and train and develop their own virtual friend. It's like having an imaginary friend, right?
Like going back to when we were kids, right? Little kids had their imaginary friends every once in a while.
This one will actually talk to you.
This one's actually real, though, right? And
Well,
give you advice and give you support, you know, because it's based on what you need. This friend is based on what you need in a day-to-day scenario, right?
yeah, and like anything else with the advancing tech, there's a lot of room for mischief with that kind of scenario. If you're
100%.
if you're if you're born a psychopath, your virtual friend might tell you to do some things that might not be a good idea. But the
That's
idea,
interesting.
the
I
idea
never
that
thought of
that's just a
that.
normal thing. It's a
Yeah.
normal part of the day. You check your email. Email, if email still exists. You'll check your phone, your messages, and you check your virtual friend.
That's interesting. I like that. I like that. Do you believe AI is going to, like you said, create virtual friends? Robots will become much more unique and relievable,
human.
or more
More
human. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. That's on its way. How do you think there's going to be a point in time, and I refer back to the utopia thing, right? There's going to be a point in time where we have the ability to go one direction or the other, and the utopia that I talk about needs to have the politics behind it. How do you think the world is going to be able to? How do you think the government structure is going to be able to adjust when nobody has to work anymore because robots make everything so efficient and products and services can get to a point where they basically cost nothing because there's so much automation just going through, and the predictions are that people won't have to work. They can work if they want to. I mean, but they don't have to work. That's the bright side of the picture. If the politicians control the narrative going into this technology, starting now and beyond, what my concern is, what was that? Soylent Green? Remember that movie a long time ago? You could either be Soylent Green or you could be the Jetsons, right?
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way.
People who are younger than us are having no idea what we're talking about. Soylent Green, check out the movie. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
And it's a science fiction movie.
So
right?
don't spoil the ending.
I'm not saying anything about it. I have too much respect for the show. So what do you think? I mean, do you how do you envision the world moving forward into technology and society, that mix? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, I've got lots of thoughts about it. I don't necessarily have a strong sense that this, that, or the other thing is going to happen.
Yeah, we can't.
Other than that you're right. The AI is going to advance to a degree that we're going to start to be able to do things that are pretty remarkable. In manufacturing, in medicine, in health.
It's already starting with in medicine.
Yeah. All
doctors are using AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and on the operating table, bringing up those things that you saw in science fiction movies not that long ago, where they bring the thing up and they're just turning. So somebody's having heart surgery, you just bring up the heart and turn around and go, okay, it's right over here. Just punch it in, or just tell them, now I want you to do these coordinates I just gave to you, and it'll take over from there. So you need a human element in a lot of these things. You still need the human element.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
but they do. Why it's taken off so well in medicine is because they've got, like what you said, these coordinates, and they see a 3D vision of it, and then the cuts are less invasive now because of this. They're much more clean, so recovery is much quicker and less damage to the biological body. So I really support that, and I know people are concerned about it. And last question before we start to wrap up here. I mentioned before that AI is going to be the biggest impact to society that's ever been. Way more of an impact to than was the internet, mobile phones, and those things that happened in the 80s, something like that. I mean, you only go back 40 years from there, and we didn't really have that much running hot water. We're advancing, and then this AI is going to take it to like you said, a rocket ship. But how do you think we are going to be able to? How do you people our age? Okay, sorry, I'm struggling how to lay this out there, but I remember people our age back in the 80s when all this technology came on. First, they were scared. I'm talking about people that didn't grow up in it, right? In whatever that technology is, like the kids today, this is their world. We're handing it off. This is where they're comfortable. They're born with cell phones in their hands, kind of. So that they're going to adjust and add to and multiply, the things that automation and AI are going to do. But people our age during that time that I was just mentioning, the Great Depression, depression in people became very big, and people became isolated from society because they were afraid of these tools, but two, they had no concept on how to use them. The computers, emails, that kind of stuff, video cameras. These are things that for I don't know if that's right way to say it, but people our age, that generation coming into now, how do you think people our age are going to be lost in the future, so to speak?
I think it, probably like, any other age when there's, another leap in technology and societal norms and all that kind of stuff. First of all, I'm older than you are, dude. But yeah, I guess we're in the same ish.
We both have. Well, I have more gray hair than you. That's not fair.
Yeah, that's because I'm dyeing my hair. Otherwise, my hair would be completely gray. I think.
You dye it?
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? I'm 67 years old, dude.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. So you think it's not going to be a big? I'm concerned about it. I mean, we're going to be the oldest generation that's going to be affected by this question, because people in their 80s now are that's a different story, right? But people are in their 50s, I think, even from 50s to 60s to 70s. I'm wondering if, because AI is much more intelligent and much more mature, if there's going to be an ability for people that don't have that knowledge or are comfortable with it, if there'll be like training, it'll like teach you how to teach it.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think there's a strong possibility that AI is going to facilitate people that aren't, normally comfortable with technology, because again, you can just talk to it. You can just talk to it. Go research this, and it brings back something and say, well, what does that mean when this? And you just have a conversation with the AI. I think, but like any other generation, older people need to adapt, or they're, it's just, there's going to be a harder time if you don't adapt to the technology.
Well, that's the key. Yeah, you're right. The case being though is I think it's a lot more critical that they're able to adapt, that everybody's able to adapt, because it's going to be, the internet changed the world, right? But it changed the world. What's coming up now is a whole nother world. I mean, it's like comparing the Jetsons to where we are now, right? I mean, AI is going to bring us to that point. There's no stopping it. Two, there's not enough people really understanding it. I play with it regularly because I have an aggressive son who thought that was important, and I couldn't agree with him more.
Yeah.
And he's in his late 30s, early 40s, and they opened that door for me, and I was curious enough. To want to understand how I could use this tool, and I'm just using basic stuff, but at least I'm, open chat, open AI chat, these things, and Google is being replaced by AI. Google's trying to add AI in there to make it smarter, but it's going to be a completely different world, man.
Yeah. I mean, they've already added the AI to search. Anytime I search for something, the first thing that pops up is what the AI thinks I'm looking for, and then I go from there. And I don't use the AI all that much, but I definitely am going to be using it more. Because for me, as a creative, I love telling stories and doing the videos and all that kind of thing.
Short movie you're working on?
Yeah, 2 shorts. Yeah,
two shorts.
Yeah.
So AI is going to really be a function of use for you as you learn it.
Just in the sense of helping to generate ideas. It's never going to replace, I would never use AI for writing a script, for instance.
Correct.
Never, ever.
Right.
even if it worked well, because it's not mine. Right.
No, that's a different thing, though.
Yeah, research and generating ideas and that kind of thing. Oh, it's just I'm quite certain I'm going to be using it a lot more in the coming months.
Have you seen the social media posts that I put out about the show? A week or every couple of days I send them out, and they have the image and then the verbiage.
Yeah.
I have an automation that all I do, is I talk into this phone. I give it a message of what I want to say, advertising this show, for instance. I just did that a couple of days ago, right? And I just leave a voicemail, so to speak. I do a voice message. I created, with some help with my son and a guy by the name of Paven. I've mentioned him. He's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. But I developed this automation that uses AI and several other different AI type things, chat, and there's a number of different modules. But it will see that message came on, and it will generate it into a text format, and then from that text format it will generate an image, and it changes the text format slightly. Like LinkedIn has a different audience than
TikTok,
Facebook, right? There's a little bit of and it changes the tone more professionally or more relaxed. And it just does it on my prompt. Now it's not perfect. I was telling you, I'm teaching my AI right now. It's getting, as a matter of fact, you commented on one of them because it misspelled your last name.
It misspelled my entire name. Yeah, and it had typos, and it was. I don't know.
Those are the things I go back and I edit that post, and it actually learns, right? Oh, it should have been like this, because when I first started it, it misspelled everything. I mean, my name included, because it's your voice is going not. It's not actually reading,
Yeah.
the letters, right? But
Doing it
the
phonetic.
AI is learning it. It's learning it, and it's getting it, and it's making better and better posts each time. It's crazy.
It's your first imaginary friend, right?
Yeah, I've got a friend. Yeah, did you see that now? They have on, I think it's Facebook, or maybe it's one of the other ones, Instagram or something. But they actually have, you can create your friend on now. You can create a. I didn't want to look at it because, I mean, it's interesting because of what you said. That's where it's going, but it's actually started already, man. And 2 years ago, nobody ever talked about AI. Nobody.
Well, science fiction people did.
Well, true. Okay, I was making an overgeneralization.
Well, again,
True, you caught me on that one.
You pay attention to what most interests you. So, most people. This is where I get into a rant sometimes on science fiction that the public's general impression of science fiction is Star Wars and Star Trek,
Right.
which
First thing I thought of when you said
very
it.
very entertaining, and Star Trek actually did get very deep into some very good story, but there's so much more to science fiction than spaceships and ray guns and action, and I mean it gets very it's always looking at the human condition.
Yeah, the evolving human condition.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, we're well past where I was thinking we'd end up. So, I can you give us? I'm going to close out, and do some information at the end. But do you have a closing thought here before I let you go, Baron?
Nope.
All right. Well, that's a way to short and cut it off. I have a closing thought for you. I really appreciate the insight and the information and exposing me to another volume, another shade of thoughts and information. Listening twice, speaking, twice as much as you're speaking.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you being here.
That goes back to you as well, my friend.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll do another one of these coming up. I've got about a half a dozen different topics that are going through. But after the first of the year, man, let's hook up and do another aspect of the politics or the and we'll get an update. How's things kind of working out, and we'll go for there, because the importance is the people, not the politics. So we've got so much that needs to be done, because like you said, we're half and half. We're split. There can only be it can only slog or slow down the system. People have to be more informed, because there are the right people. They're there or they're not there, and very soon you find out, unless you don't pay attention. And once we pay attention, I think that's going to change the world too, my friend.
Absolutely.
All right. You have a good one. It's freezing ass out here, but I know you're in Southern Cal, so you don't have to worry about that stuff. Yeah, I know. You go out and enjoy the sunshine.
Yeah, I don't need a jacket to go outside. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, well, I'm looking out my window with the snow flurries going on. It's like 19 degrees outside.
Seriously?
So yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So real jackets out here, no jackets out there. All right, you have a good one, buddy.
Okay, you too,
Take
man.
it easy.
See you next time.
All right, buddy. All right, so that was Baron, and he actually I don't know if I've ever mentioned one of my best friends, a guy by the name of Joe Heap. He's also out in California. I spent most of my life out there. But Joe is a video producer, and he's starting a show like this. He actually helped me set up this show. If I could show you, if I could turn the camera around, it's pretty interesting with the lighting systems, the monitors, and the camera. But Joe introduced me to Baron when I started writing my book. If you go to my website, www.rodduff.com, you'll see some of his work there on some of the book covers, and I'm working on a poetry book now. And then, as I announced, I think it was day before yesterday, we've decided to. I have a couple different. I like interviewing, and as Baron said, I like being curious. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to start bringing that other show, which is a industrial. It's more focused on industry, on production, on economics of one type of production versus another. We're actually, I highlighted a chiller system just a little bit ago, but we're going to start interviewing leaders we're going to continue to do it, but we're bringing it onto this channel because it all ties together. So with that, I love you guys. Go out and say hi to each other. Change the vibe. Or create the vibe. It's really important time now, and I know I'm beaten on this subject, but it's really a critical time now that we have to get together and take our lives seriously and take seriously the people that are part of our lives, that influence our lives, because it should be our choice that they're doing the work for, not their own. I think there's way too much corruption now. With everything starting to change, I hope we can make that change soon. Love you guys. Have a great day, and we'll be gone for now. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Bye.